into the scene, but not really finding the greatest success. And hell, even Renegades is not exempt from that conversation, having already lost out in this tournament specifically. So yeah, a lot to kind of go through, but we are jumping on into game. It'll be the side of Ghost Gaming on the defense first, and really there are a couple of uniqueness. I'm looking at Miniature first and foremost, actually picking up the Yoru, something a little bit more spicy for this map overall.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those agents where as time goes on, you know, he started off as a bit of a meme, and actually you're starting to see the value in him a little bit more, especially with the flashes that he can bring out, but straight away going into the site.
This will provide an opportunity for at least an early take, but the spike is not being planted. Looking for a first blood first and foremost, but it's Nismo up top who will find the kill into John. Simultaneously, Miniature is able to get the spike planted. Well, a cheeky little nano storm that will do some damage to anybody who comes down low, or potentially even damaging a couple players up top on the rotation. Dazzle's just making sure no one's lurking through mid-map, and he feels pretty confident that he's cleared. So now it's going to be down to the retake for Ghost. 3-2 split. 3 from 3, 2 up top. First blood. Could be good for So, but Ryan responds. Now another. Maybe not. It's going to be Miniature who's able to go back and forth, but Kohler eventually overwhelms, leaves things just down to Danny. Now the good news here is that he's got a couple of players that low HP, and makes use of the recon bolt for one. Finds the second. One more. It's just going to take a single shot. He's got a really good look at this spike. Shoulder check just to make sure. And there it is. The final shot connects, and Danny clutches up the 1v3.
Really nice for them to have been able to make that 1v3 work for them, because I think one of the big problems with going in that kind of a rush is while the rest of the defenders are rotating over to A site itself, you're quite limited on setting up for a post plant because you haven't cleared out a lot of those entranceways onto the site. So you've got to do that as time is going on when those defenders are coming in. And what that means is a lot of the members of the attacking team got cleared up in the process, relying on that 1v3 at the end. It's a risk, but it worked out for them, and that means they get ahead for round number 2.
Brilliant paint shells coming through for Nismo. Does get tagged up pretty heavily. Miniature still wanting to push forward. Bancroft watching over through B main. The aggression looks like it's coming pretty full steam ahead. John moving their way forward with Miniature. Kills will be good as Bancroft is able to simultaneously pinch, and that'll be a very clean take of the B site from S2P.
Got to wait for these last 2 players from Ghost to make their way over, and this is certainly going to give S2P more time to work with. Spike has gone down. You can tell that there's a lot of patience being exhibited here.
Oh, the timing though not great for Miniature. Ryan right on the other side. We'll collect one weapon. But the problem still is the 2v3 at hand, and honestly the sentry turret is kind of serving as a 4th member right now against pistols. Ryan's going to have to be the one to largely open things up, but the judge at that range not going to do much of anything at all. John finds the kill. Dazzle hoping for an exit kill, and maybe there's an angle to find a couple of connections. Actually does lock onto the head of one, but will not find anything beyond the damage, and that will be the second round as expected to some to prove.
And they'll be moving further on in terms of their economy, starting to actually buy up some of those real weapons, which is maybe a little bit cruel to say, but you're seeing the Vandals and the Phantoms come in, whereas it's still a little bit further down for the other team. So I think that, you know, S2P, they've had a really good start so far, and you can tell in the way that Ghost are setting themselves up as well, is that over the course of the last couple of rounds, they've been spreading themselves out further for their initial defenses because they want to be ready very quickly to deal with whatever S2P come in with. They've made very quick and decisive attacks very early on, and Ghost need to be ready to deal with them because so far they haven't done so well in that area.
We'll see how things kind of unfold here, because there's going to be a lot of pressure here on S2P to find some work against what is largely all full ARs, and that's not a great way to start, as Miniature was hoping to play with a bit of elevation, but Chase, aware of it, finds the easy first blood, and we'll go 5v4. And beyond that, no ultimates to play with here either for S2P, although I believe there are a couple of members who are relatively close. Just comes down to, can you tally a kill, a couple of ultimate orbs to actually get that extra tool. And while the alarm bot is actually going to be placed behind this push over towards B main, so with these extra stars being placed, looks like it will be an execute, and that will be the case. John, the first one forward, using the cloud burst, trying to inch his way even further beyond that, but as the smoke dissipates, he finds himself in front of 2 Ghost members, does well to take the first. Polar spanning, hoping that there's an opportunity to find one through, and well, Ryan will be there to assist, and that will be enough to keep things still in the defensive favor, but the spike will be planted.
S2P knew that Ghosts were going to have to come in through the defender spawn, so the use of those cloud bursts held back that push in from the defenders enough to give them the time to put the spike down. Now it means that the defenders are really going to have to come in through these choke points. I mean, in goes the recon dart as well. There's a cage too. It's really working against Ghost Gaming here.
Bancroft actually just going to toggle the cyber cage just to keep this defense planted a little bit longer. Even exchange so far. Bancroft is playing their life. Has Chase in a corner, but Sofa will be the one to finish. Have to go back towards the spike though. It's being held already halfway. Sofa, they're going to find the third elimination. Bancroft will make sure that there is no further defusal coming through. And how about it? S2P with an economic disadvantage do very nicely. Get the spike down cleanly, and that will be enough to put them up now 3-0 and put Ghost right back onto a pistol round.
Ghosts are having a tough time so far. I mean, the way that, for me, it's a lot about how S2P are really controlling the space that they have. In the first couple of rounds, we saw them very decisively go for the site that they wanted to do. And they haven't been doing much baiting in that sense. There are a number of teams who would kind of bait or fake the idea of going to one site. Next? In that last round, they really went for the mid control, and it really limited Ghost's options for retaking a site. And that pushed them back enough that S2P just had so much site control.
How about this? Miniature using the dimensional drift gets so far forward, but maybe they thought it was a little bit more clear than it actually was, because now Dazzle's working around the back. A lot of footstep sounds, but still finds the one tap. We've got ourselves a 4v2 situation. Seeker's going to go through. Chase even going to flash beyond that. And this is a very doable round as Chase finds themselves a third kill. Danny by themselves has been concussed, deals with the recon bolt, but gets absolutely overwhelmed. And man, I'll tell you, the dimensional drift you thought was saying, okay, middle's clear, over to the front side of market's clear, but little did they know, Chase in the back of the site was able to capitalize on 3 with just the pistol.
Just the pistol is really the key word there, isn't it? Because Ghost Gaming, that was the big thing working against them. And I did have a kind of concern that, you know, with 3 rounds down, maybe they were going to fall really quite far behind as far as economy goes. Being able to get that thrifty round at the end there, it pushes them forward, and they're on a lot more even footing now in terms of their economical advantage. They're not ahead of S2P, but they're certainly a lot closer to them.
Oh. That's an absolutely momentous occasion to essentially take that thrifty away. Bancroft hoping to go for the ultimate orb. Good help from John. The gravity well placement was actually beautiful, trying to get an opening first blood, but it gets denied. And with that, lockdown will be earned and instantly planted. You also saw the Hunter's Fury come through pretty quickly over the middle of the map. Doesn't really get too much value outside of maybe a couple of players to stall off. And Ryan is going to destroy this lockdown. Picks up the rifle, finds themselves 2. And now John is literally stuck by themselves. And Ryan, what an individual play that is. 1v3 plus dealing with the lockdown. Incredible stuff from Ghost.
Now they have to contend with this Astra ult. Sofa's going to be pushing on forward, looking like they want to go to A, but look, you already have a defender there. Do they know that he's going to be able to help contest? Up in heaven and going to watch down as the spike gets planted. There's 1 kill for Dazzle. Can he find a second?
Has an Aldrone still, too. Could use that just to tag up Sofa. Hear it coming out just to try to see what exactly is happening. You feel like this is going to be probably still a win for Ghost. It just comes down to how much damage can Sofa do. The answer is not all that much. So after a thrifty round comes through for Ghost, they hold off a lockdown, they force out the Cosmic Divide and a Hunter's Fury, and still win the round to follow. So now we've got ourselves a 1-round differential, but a huge swing as far as not only the economy, but also the ultimate status for this match overall.
Yeah, and I think that's the really important thing as well, because after all, we've only had 5 rounds down, and already so many of those ultimates have been expended. And there's certainly an argument that you can say, well, you might as well use them now because it means that you can build up for the next one. But Ghost forcing those ultimates out at a time when maybe S2P could have saved them for something a bit more economical later, that's going to feel really good. They've caught up economically, they're going to be having their ults too, and they've been better at their reaction times for the decisions being made by S2P.
Oh, this is a beautiful Hunter's Fury timing for Dazzle. Will not find any eliminations, but look at the damage that was dealt. Miniature tries to force their way on to the site. The Blade Storm shut down by Chase, who doubles down. And Ghost looking for a flawless here against the majority eco of S2P. Trailblazer goes left. Does it check right, though? Sofa maybe can make a play, but no. Dazzle ready for it to spike down. Over the top Nismo. Nice little blast pack play to get elevation. And that will tie us at 3 with a flawless round in hand for Ghost.
Really nice control there from Ghost as well. You know, the fact they brought out the Hunter's Fury while they had all of S2P trapped in essentially one location, but I really like the presence of where they put their stars and also their tripwire from the Cypher as well. It basically meant that S2P, even if they decided to try and make rotations back over to B, it was going to be nigh on impossible for them, and Ghost had control of all of the top half of the map still. So then they could just aggress straight onto them, and that's what happened. S2P wanted to commit to A, they didn't have an option to go to B, and they just kind of got trapped.
Wow, how quickly the tide has turned. Brings us back to pretty much all neutral, but Nismo's gonna be able to push through this a bit. There's the blast back showstopper with the guiding light to come through. Does not find much damage though. Miniature will find one elimination on the Chase, who is trying to follow up on this play. The flash comes through, but Nismo holding their ground finds a second elimination. So that at least ties us up at 4v4 with a lot of time to play with, to be fair. The spike was never a part of this play also for S2P.
They've still got to go and collect it from B main, which looks like they may be on the way to picking that up as they try and figure out which way they want to go. It's going to be John who picks it. And it looks like they're heading over towards A, which is where we saw Nismo playing very, very aggressively down onto long. Still, there's plenty of time to play with, but how much information have they got?
This will be interesting because defensively it all relies on what Dazzle gets here. I don't know what kind of tools he has available.
Left.
Nothing, just a recon bolt. That's it. So this is going to be point of contact for information. Not going to spend this, you would think, immediately. Timing is actually not so bad. Finds one. That was a very low health pool miniature, and this is why. It's just back out, play your life, wait for a little bit of help. You've got yourselves a 3v3. The only big difference here is the fact that S2P will be setting up a post plant, and it just comes down to the question of, will you use a Cosmic Divide to try to break on forward into this? Sophus door will be exploded. Into the Nebula he goes. Kohler finding the kill. That'll be an instant neural theft. So now it's a 4v2 situation, and Bancroft is in a very, very weird spot. Has to find a couple and does. So now it's down to John. Should know that he's playing backside of the site. It's a 1v2 situation. Cloudburst goes down at the absolute worst timing possible. Bit unfortunate for him. Kohler will find 3 though, and that will mean that Ghost take a pivotal round to go 4-3.
I actually really like the fact that they decided to bring the Cypher down in through Garden and through Tree, because the thing is, S2P were expecting Dazzle to be out there. They knew where the recon dart had come in from. They knew that that's where the Soba was playing. They put down the star. They had the smoke from the Astra so that they could try and push up on him, but they didn't necessarily expect for there to be a second player. And as a direct result, it meant that the control of the site and the post-plant locations, or positioning, I should say, from the attackers of that side of the site was immediately diminished. That gave Ghost so much more room that they could play with.
Half by situation going into this next round here, on the side of S2P. John gonna be the first one forward, looking for cameras, but does not expect Colo to be essentially wide peeking through mid right there. So that'll be good for first blood, and Ghost very comfortably into now a 5v4. The spike was left behind this push towards B main, and that will mean that for the offensive S2P, they're split 2-2 and need to find a way to isolate a pick somewhere.
Notice as well how they've tried to cut off the A site, because that's where Ghost defensively played very aggressively last time, and they want to prevent that from happening again. It really hindered S2P in the last round.
That is, for S2P, it's just, you have to find so much value from Danny, or find a pick right here. Not going to happen. This one wins this cleanly. Guiding light comes through. Bancroft actually stays pretty much unencumbered by it. Tries to push forward and will find an elimination. So now an opportunity. Yes, it's still a 4v3, but there is a weapon nearby. Danny trying to flank, needs to hit a shot, will not be able to. Dazzle with the reinforcements through Tree found a double as well, and Ghost, as expected, do take the round. But the good news for Ghost fans out there is the fact that they only dropped 1 player, so now the economy is very healthy, including Nismo, who's at a full 9k. There's a lot of work to be done here for S2P if they want to try to get this to, well, I don't even know, 6-6 almost seems out of their own possibility, maybe finding their way to a 5-7. It's going to be very difficult last couple of rounds and a half.
Yeah, and it's crazy how the momentum has shifted so much from those first 3 rounds. You know, S2P looks so strong. They, you know, affected the economy a lot. And it was as soon as Ghost started reading into a lot of their decision-making that S2P have struggled a lot more. And of course, naturally, that alters the economy. It alters the momentum that you can continue on forward. Taking their time to just drone out with the Owl drone, they will find the sky. And that's why you're seeing a lot of this utility be invested to push up onto B.
The Seekers actually do catch the dimensional drift. Kohler also still playing aggressive, but this time denied by Bancroft. Mini gonna move right back over towards main. Nismo, meanwhile, has found one. Chase a second. Opportunity still for Ghost to hold on to this. We've got ourselves a 3v3. And so far, the timing here, very good. Great help as well from John just before they fell. Gives us down to a 2v2, but look at the spike. Already making its way through mid. Sofa's gonna go ahead and get a quick plan over on A.
One should be relatively easy. But you've got 2 defenders who are going to be coming your way, actually being flanked as well.
The thing about this is that Nismo could move a lot faster than Danny, but the angle still was available. So the kill from behind is good. The lurk play, successful chase, looking for some information. Nova Pulse, Gravity Well, all being spent. Second toggle, Recon Bolt will reveal, and Chase is in an awful position. And a must-win round right there for S2P. You lose that one, we start talking about 4-8. But now that they've won this, that allows them a chance to essentially keep the purchases relatively even, but Ghost will still have the ability to full purchase without even a second thought.
Yeah, definitely a good thing for S2P to have got that, and I really liked the plant location that they went for in being able to achieve the win of that round. You know, it wasn't in the default plant spot, but it was in a plant spot that was so much easier to watch, knowing that there was only 2 players alive on the defending team. So you can hold various post-plant positions that would have been a lot harder if you were up against a full 5-stack, for example. It worked very well for them. It meant that basically there was nothing Ghost could do insofar as actually getting the defusal.
Wow, that's a heck of a read from Nismo. Opening Showstopper Blast Pack up through the B main rails. It'll be a lockdown that will be spent. This is essentially just a bait over towards B, though. And there are 3 defense members that are stacked. So now it's just going to be down to what can Ryan find with the assistance of Dazzle defensively for Ghost. He'll be able to place a couple of stars down still. Dazzle going to commit even into the Hunter's Fury. This will largely miss, though. But while he will not find success, his counterpart in Ryan will. So now all the defense is here for Ghost. It's a 5v3 situation. Spike is going to force itself down for a plant, which does give at least something to work with here for the offense. And the timing for John is going to be everything. Offensive Hunter's Fury now coming through for Danny up top. That's going to actually connect and find a kill. Still doable. John through the Nebula. Deals the Boombot. But the spam shots from Dazzle too good. And now it just comes down to Sova and Danny. And while we've seen Danny clutch a 1v3, but that was in a pistol round. Not going to be the case here. It would actually need to be a 1v4. Still not going to be successful, and Ghost find themselves up 6-4.
You know, in theory, I feel like that Hunter's Fury from S2P should have been able to get a lot more value than it did. You know, the way that they used the Cosmic Divide to essentially keep all of the players from Ghost Gaming bunched up together. They didn't want to over-aggress through it, especially when they knew there was still time to play with. You know, they don't want to over-aggress.
Right.
So when you use the Hunter's Fury into that, those are tons of defenders who are all bunched up together. At the very least, you should be getting information on where they are, if not dealing a substantial amount of damage into them. And yet it didn't work out in the favor of S2P. It worked out in the favor of Ghost because there were still 4 players from their team alive at the end of it.
Very interesting following round to come through. I would have wagered for sure that S2P were just going to save and try to play for 5-7 in the last round of the half. But they have 4 spot. There's a Marshall, 3 ARs, and I believe an SMG that's in the mix, although John will be using the Bladestorm this round, so his SMG will be only essentially a sidearm, all things considered. Opening shot with the Marshall from Sofa actually connect. That's beautiful. Now the second coming through. These are great opening kills for S2P and a force buy. These are going to result in what are essentially free weapon upgrades and a 5v2.
Look at you. You were worried about the force buy, and now S2P is saying, yeah, look what we can do with it. They're going to take control of mid as they cross on over to head to A. They're going to be met with 1 player from Ghost Gaming, but is that going to be enough to deal with them? Well, he gets a nice 2 kills for it.
That predictive spray down is absolutely unbelievable from Kohler. sits through the recon bolt and makes this a doable clutch situation. This would be a 2v5, now a 2v3. And look at Ryan. Long flank from behind. Kohler still has a spy cam. Gonna get a tag off on it, but he actually snaps onto Mini. Finds himself the fourth, and Ryan from behind gets the fifth for free. Oh my goodness, Kohler.
So I was worried about that man advantage, and I didn't think that Kohler would be able to. I guess I was wrong, very, very wrong. Those first 2 kills here in Garden, then he just shoots straight through with the intel as well. Beautiful 4K from Kohler to completely nullify the value found from the force buy that we were, really, really skeptical of at the start. And now look at that round count.
Unbelievable. I mean, I was coming through and saying, okay, 6-6 is a doability now with S2P at a 5v2. It's looking pretty solid for him. But now they're on a very broken buy situation, going up against what will be a full purchase for Ghost, no questions asked. And the big thing here is you look over towards the offensive ultimate charges, run a bit of attack pause here. Sofa's a kill and an orb away from getting a Cosmic Divide. Nothing else is even close. Where on the other side, Ryan is just 1 point away from earning a Cosmic Divide of their own. So largely what I'm getting at here, Gio, is the fact that we're not going to see any extra influence really outside of maybe that 1 Cosmic Divide or 2 that gets placed depending on how the round goes.
And I do wonder how much value Ghost are going to be able to derive from the Cosmic Divide that Ryan's going to be able to achieve, because so much of where their improvement over the course of this map so far has been from is their control of space, because that's what they read into from S2P very early on. And the Cosmic Divide is essentially there entirely for the purpose of controlling space. You either hold back the attackers or defenders if you're on the other side of things. You force where they can and cannot be and the risky positions they have to put themselves in. Well, if Ghosts are already ahead and there's not that much that S2P have to hold against them as far as utility goes, then a Cosmic Divide like that could be make or break for a round, even though it's just 1 piece. Yeah,
that's actually a really strong point. This comes down to if it's earned in the first place, right? I mean, that's step number 1 from both sides. But yeah, this is going to be a very scrappy round for S2P. And I'm just kind of looking at what they did last round. Can they find a way to find success once more? The thing about it is those opening 2 kills that we had from S2P was an opening Marshall headshot and then a Bladestorm kill. So you don't have either of those 2 things to work with. So what exactly is the execute even going to look like? And just beyond that, yes, we're sitting on this pause and we haven't really talked about it too much. Are we seeing enough from the Yoru largely to say that it's found enough execution value? Because I feel like when we see Yoru being played, we saw Gambit play it a couple of weeks ago in EU. We even saw Cloud9 dance with it a little bit during the grand finals when they're playing on Vine from the Challengers 2 main event. It's great as an offensive tool to spread out the defense, that's for sure. But we really haven't seen that been the case so far from Miniature's influence on the map.
That's the thing with agents like Yoru that you have to consider when you're deciding whether or not you want to play them, or, from the perspective of a spectator or a caster like us, when you're evaluating what it is they bring. Because it's not that he doesn't have value. It's not that he can't do things that are useful for the team. It's about whether or not relinquishing another agent in the process is worth it. Right? Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. And you can see Miniature at the bottom, he's sat at 4 and 11 there. And I don't ever like to read into KD as a sole decider as to whether or not someone is bringing value. But you would still like to see him, providing a bit more, I think.
Yeah, and it's just the opposite conversation of, the different of preference and duelist. You also have kind of the Sky instead of the Yoru. They're almost kind of serving a very similar purpose. And, well, aggression is going to be the play here for S2P. We'll go in a 1-for-1 engagement. That could be a weapon that comes out. Dazzle, so much information. Will use all of his kit to try to find some extra damage. And even beyond that, the Boombot actually gets caught up a little bit. So no chance for that to come through. Dazzle seems to want to retake Cubby and will even spend the Aldrone to do just that. Checks over to the left, we'll see one. Doesn't technically get the dart off, and Sofa is going to feel very fortunate to get away with their life, and we still have a 4v4. This is still very doable.
I mean, this is absolutely huge in my opinion, that, you know, the fact that S2P got a bit greedy after their opening pick and decided to push into tree immediately into a recon dart. They know they've been seen, they have no choice but to back off. And at that point, they backed off so much that Dazzle was able to get another kill because he pushed up with the Owl drone as his, I don't know, companion, I suppose. I think that was really big for Ghost.
Nismo gonna be tested, and Danny does win the gunfight. This is 3v3, but beyond that, Sofa snuck their way on. Kohler never expected that. That was just a little bit of a Nebula bait. The Nebula gets pulled back, throws this fake smoke out. Now Miniature mid-map. That's gonna be great. Uses the gate crash to get back to safety mid-map. And it just comes down to Dazzle with an operator. There is no actual rifle, at least all that nearby. He's gonna have to try to collect this one over towards where his teammate had fallen on Heaven. That was Kohler that fell over here. But 32 health. I mean, this is gonna have to be perfect, and it will not be. So S2P, we thought for a second they were gonna take round 11 in this series. Not the case. They come back and take the more difficult round 12 to get us to a 5-7 tally.
I feel like expectations in this game so far have already been yo-yoing like crazy. You know, they put Dazzle in a really difficult position at the end there. He could have waited 10 seconds for his recon to be ready, but he still would have broadcasted his position. They basically knew where he was anyway. He could have jumped down, which is also really dangerous. So they kind of had him trapped at the end. And I think one of the big things there in why it went that way in that round was because after Ghost Gaming got that kind of advantage after the Dazzle play that I spoke about before, they actually started to rotate a little bit over to B, anticipating that that's where the attackers were going to go. Now, in my opinion, that was the wrong play because they had so much intel utility over there that would have been able to tell them for free. But it was at that point that S2P took the opportunity to actually move back to A. Suddenly, they have all the control.
A little bit of duality coming through. Ryan, not the cleanest shots ever. It was a beautiful blindside interaction as Miniature was able to open up a little bit of space, and now Sofa will take over that space, even swapping over to the Ghost. Impressive little flick onto Kohler, and the aggression from S2P starts off very nicely as they take the pistol. And hey, how about this? You want to talk about extra good news for some to prove? They come off not only a 5-7 half, but they're going on to their stronger half overall. They typically, since at least the beginning of April, win 70% of their defenses. So we're going to be in for an interesting one if they can hold on to that statistical line.
Yeah, that was I think the technical term is a pew-pew round.
True.
I think they pulled out the pew-pew stat pretty well there, and I'm very excited to actually see how S2P are going to increase the efficacy of this aggression, because punishing it is what Ghost did very, very well as the first half went on more.
This is interesting to see exactly how Ghost want to play with this. They're going to keep Kohler as the lurker over by B. But meanwhile, a lot of the focus will eventually be over here towards A. Mini, Judge, hello, goodbye. That'll be an easy first. Tries to get a little bit cute, though. Okay, wait a second. There are some trades, but that's not bad overall for Ghost to keep the numbers relatively even, as you saw Miniature trying to play around with a little bit of utility.
Staying very close together. So far, Ghost have been very keen to have a lot of mid presence and take that control more than S2P seem to, but they may get involved in an altercation here. Looking to push on forward. They're also being flanked by the Sova of S2P as well.
Yeah, he's pretty much single-handedly closed the door on this entire interaction. Kohler, not a good spot. Gonna have to hit a headshot, but Danny already spamming bullet hose in the Ares, no problem. We're tied at 7. And 3 members will survive for S2P. This comes down to what weaponry overall as a collective 5 they want to put together. The Ares will, of course, be held. So will the Spectre. Will there be any rifle purchases, though, I think is the real question for consideration. And Sova will say, sure, I'll bring in one. And how about John, the opening operator? And that's an interesting conversation if they do stick to that, is the fact that we saw very little of that from Ghost on their defense.
Yeah, it looks like that's the way it's going to go. So now things are evened out as well as far as score count goes, which I think is super important. That recon does potentially gonna give info, but it actually doesn't look like anybody was caught out by it. Just trying to wallbang and getting ready with shock dart instead.
Oh, this could be huge. Nismo, paint shells, main drop, probably dead to rights here. Sure is. Recon bolt was sent maybe just a little bit too late. Nismo will find a second for free into Danny. So now Ghost making their play over towards B. The spike is going to be a little bit delayed for this hit, though. It's in the hand of Ryan, who will be here, but it does at least allow some opportunity for S2P to rotate over and maybe try to do some actual contest work over towards the post-plant side.
Spike finally down. It's a 5 versus 3. The attackers have the advantage here.
Oh.
You can see how far away a lot of these defenders are still positioned as well.
This is going to be a safe. Maybe Mini was considering an opening. He saw the gate crash be placed back over towards spawn, seeing maybe there's an opportunity to blindside myself, then find a kill, and then back out. But it looks like Sofa and John have already made the call from the get-go that, okay, we've lost our 2 defenders at B. We're just going to be hard saving from here on out. So, Mini, can you find any exits? That does not look all that doable. And nope, the only player would have been Ryan. And Ryan very aware that that could have been the case. Finds the easy kill. So a flawless round for Ghost, but 2 ARs will still be saved for S2P.
Well, as you say, 2 ARs will be safe for S2P. That's what they wanted to do, and they kind of said that when they didn't act on the plant. So I guess they got what they wanted in a way. Ghost Gaming once again taking the lead, however. That was the first round on their attack, if I'm not mistaken, where they actually straight up went for a site. The first 2 rounds, they really spent so much time. Yeah, really spent a lot of time in mid, a lot of focus. And actually in the second round of their attack, it was their sort of lack of doing that thoroughly that caught them out. But this time they went straight for a site. I'm wondering if that's going to be something we see a little bit further on going in. Just catching an orb for any action really ensues.
That's going to feel pretty bad for John. Kohler's just taking an order at the hut over there and just watching the spy cam the entire way. So nothing will be seen, and expect Kohler to be that one player to continue to be a lurking presence rather over towards B. But you talk about, again, Ghost being caught mid-map a couple of different times. They are going to be setting up for, in the look at least, over towards A. It might not be a full-on execute, but they'll at least have a look. And this is a brilliant position as far as what we're seeing defensively. You've got Nano Swarm. You've got a couple of stars that are placed. Bancroft is in a very dominable position right through middle with the assistance of Sofa with them. Ryan trying to work across. Trailblazer will be sent to scout out the site. And now rotating over is going to be Danny. This execute, if it comes through, would have to come through right now. And the gravity well nearly used in combination perfectly with the paint shells, but it's just a little bit of damage that comes through. Dazzle moving their way in. They really want to clear out over towards Garden. This is going to be potentially very costly, but it ends up in a 3-for-2 exchange. S2P do find themselves the numbers as an off-screen kill did also work its way over towards B.
1 enemy remaining.
Kill there for John. He does get a second too, and that puts another round on the board. Once again, evening things out for S2P. I was watching a lot of how Ghost were very specifically setting up for that move over to A throughout the course of that round, because at first I was really impressed with the fact that they were adapting on their mistakes from before. They wanted to prevent that flank coming in from behind through mid, so they placed the spike cam, which you noted at the start. They also placed the tripwire on short as well. And yet what actually ended up happening was Kohler, who was in charge of sitting in mid-market, just watching for any defensive rotates from B. It was almost like he underestimated the fact that there would actually be people there. And him being caught out gave S2P a lot of room to move forward into A, and that's how that huge bloodbath in Garden ended up happening, because there was none of that flanking presence from the attackers. A nice early kill from Danny to get Kohler, so he doesn't even get to survive for this round at all, really.
And that's just really been an interesting interaction between the two of them, between Danny and Kohler. They've just been kind of playing around each other with information. When we've seen a number of openings where Danny's tried to spam through the walls, but some of his recon bolts either haven't found value, have come out maybe a little bit too late. This time it's perfectly executed for the first kill. Miniature had been tagged up just a touch. So there, even though we're in a 4v5 situation, if Dazzle can find maybe even just a beat of intel, Hunter's Fury could come through. This comes down to, will they actually expect either of these two players? They have an idea that Miniature could be up top on heaven, but the spam shots will not connect. And interestingly enough, John's gonna have to hit this shot because he is by himself, and will absolutely provide exactly what's required.
30
Sofa, though,
seconds
caught
left.
out by a flash, will also fall. So we stay in a one-man advantage for the defenders. Miniature has not moved from this position yet, but again, the hunch was already put into place, and Ghost find 2 quick kills, get the spike down, and now they've got a 3v2 post plant.
Those were very quick to act on the information they had and those kills that they got. Do they know that there is a player down
Last player
below
standing.
Danny? That's where Bancroft is, and Dazzle looks like he's trying to get that kill. So he's going to bring out the Hunter's Fury just to try and finish things off. At the very least, get the information that he needs. It's a nice kill onto Bancroft, but he's still got one more to deal with.
But does he actually hear the defuse because he's playing on the other side of the cosmic divide? The answer is no. So they'll be happy with the kill, but not exactly pleased about the outcome of the round. S2P able to just lock things up by just holding down the 4 key. And that'll be enough for another advantage going over to some to prove. The economy largely still, though, is not in a healthy position, really from either team's POV. I mean, we have yet to really get a full-on gun round versus gun round yet. The only big difference is the fact that John has continued to find ways to get this operator on the table with a little bit of help from his friends.
Yeah, and you know what? He has been making it work as well. Got those 2 kills in that last round. They used that as an opening. It did pretty good for them. So if that's what they want to be investing their limited credits into, I kind of don't blame them for it if it's going to work.
And the big question is, you know, has there been enough from this operator to say it has worked, though? I think is the big question, because John really has not popped up in the kill feed with this op yet. But for Ghost, there is a big question to ask, and it's down to, how do you want to execute? You've got Kohler essentially playing bait right now with the Sheriff, or he could serve as just somebody who can collect a weapon if Dazzle falls, and well, there he goes. He does fall. Sofa's able to find the first blood. Seekers were put out. John coming over quickly. Blade Storm, not the greatest we've seen. Still 1 knife left to play with. Now the showstopper, it's all over the Ghost. How can they make their way on? They do so, and do so quickly. A couple of kills come through. It's evenly exchanged, though, so a 2v2 situation. And as the spike carrier was killed up top, mind you, Ghost's attack is not done. They're going to have to re-execute back over through Glass or Garden. Danny, slow peek, punished for it. And it just comes down to John. Operator and maybe 1 knife that's still left to play with. He's going to have to hit a shot in one form or the other.
It also means he's got to take a gamble on which way to go, but these players from Ghost are now behind him, and they're just playing Ring Around the Rosie. He's got to go out the window. He gets 1 kill.
Down A.
Can he get the second one, though? He puts the Cloudburst behind him. He's got to look for that kill as they go in for the plant. Dancing around, and he gets it. What a beautiful clutch from John in that 1 versus 2. Nice little bit of tactical crouching at the end there. S2P take another round.
Wow, those are 2 absolutely massive shots from John. The round, again, it's just a situation where neither team is really fully economically invested, but the simple fact of the matter is we asked the question going into this, you know, has there been value out of John's operator? He will sit there and shut us up pretty quickly by finding those 2 kills for a 1v2. So great stuff there overall from John. Still, though, you look across the defensive economy in the round win, not great. It's just an operator and 1 Phantom. On the other side, though, Ghost fully purchased with weapons. Mini looking to make a play with the Dimensional Drift. We'll find a lot of information, to be fair. They're trying to punish, but easily gate crashes back, and there will be no problem for S2P to just use that information to modify how they're defensively set up.
Look at all the Astra and Killjoy utility that S2P have invested over onto the A side, which is where there were problems from Ghost with that, I have to say, very cocky push up through Garden that they went through before. And that's why Ghost are maybe taking a little bit more time. As you say, they wanted to scout out for intel. They're currently over through mid, and they know there's going to be this presence from the defenders in the Garden area.
You can even see Dazzle's even going to send shock bolts out just to try to clear some space. Gravity will be used. That will actually be a huge denial of positioning. Bancroft's still holding on to a lot of their own utility. And then we go back to reset things up. Ghost Gaming, I mean, every single offense that we've seen them hit over towards A has been off this same level of approach. Not a lot of success through it so far. Another gravity wall comes out. Spam shots will be good. Sofa finds first blood. Not a lot of time to play with just 25 seconds.
It is in the Hunter's Fury coming out from Danny. What's that going to find? They know that these attackers are over on the A site. They know where they've got to go, but Dazzle, he's going to be the next casualty as the spike goes down.
All right, Kohler. The first man up. Also got Nismo holding over towards Tree. And S2P are going to 4-member stack. There has to be a collide in the mix, and there was. Nismo finds 2, Kohler a 3rd. That opens up some space over towards Heaven, and also earns the neural theft. 2v2 situation. Information is going to be good here for the side of Ghost in the post plant. No way they do this again. It's going to be down to Ryan. 1v2 situation. Cosmic Divide coming through. The Astra's playing just above. Couple of spam shots. That will be enough for Miniature to know exactly where Ryan's playing. Easy cleanup. It comes with a bit of a punish, but S2P happy to be up 11-8.
And you know how we were talking about earlier the S2P's side of the scoreline not looking so great and Ghost were way ahead, and now they are 1 round off of map point?
Yep.
It's crazy how that turns out, isn't it? And they just look very, very comfortable. And one of the things that we spoke about in the last couple of rounds was comparing the economies of these two teams, because it was Ghost who had a full buy in that last round, right? You know, they were playing with all ARs, and S2P haven't been, and it hasn't been affecting them that negatively when you look at the results of the last couple of rounds.
There's got to be something to be said here about how this offensive half has gone for Ghost. The only attacking success that they've had was over on that full push to B. Everything towards A has been absolutely shut down. In fact, they've only gotten the spike planted 2 separate times in those 3 rounds that we've talked about, between the 1 row over towards B and then the most recent couple over towards A. So, man, I don't know. It just feels like all of the pressure that Danny's put down, whether it's by recon bolts, Odin's, or something else, has actually been very well respected by Ghost, and maybe too much so.
You never want to respect your opponent too much. But the spike cam placed right next to the Astra smoke. Again, so much of this defensive util over on A as well. It's like S2P are so aware that that's where Ghosts want to go, and so they're investing wholly into it because it's been proven at this point that that is bothering them.
And how about this play from Miniature? Already clears all of middle. So now all of a sudden the defenders, whether you're talking about the 2 on A or the 2 on B, could just hard focus over towards the A archway or towards B main. It's going to be A archway the entire way through. Nismo, really good job to get onto site and do it quickly and cleanly. Avoids a majority of the pending Killjoy utility, but the one that will not be used immediately off the start is actually the lockdown. And Miniature, who's lurking mid-map, will find one. Ryan's looking for some clearance, has to sidestep an operator, and will destroy the lockdown, but it won't make a difference. S2P are already fully here. Defensively, they completely envelop the site, and there's nowhere for Ghost to go but down. And now we are on map point. S2P up 12-8.
Looking very good for them. And, you know, you say the lockdown got... it got deleted anyway, but one of the things with, and you know, this is me kind of speculating about what goes through people's heads, so I'm not a psychologist, I could be wrong, but this is the way that I think about it, is that even if you get rid of that utility, there's still that sort of initial panic where you're like, oh no, we're gonna have to deal with this situation, right? And it's like, okay, the lockdown goes down, whether you're expecting it or not, that is a big concern. If you're the attacker in that situation, and that's a problem. Mid.
Bigger problem. First blood's already been confirmed. Then he able to use the gate crash to get out. Gravity well actually not poorly placed, but John still re-peeks it. Beautiful use of the blind side, Mini. Oh my goodness. What an absolute